It's no secret that we live in the information age. On the one hand, the one who owns the information has influence and power. On the other hand, news increases anxiety about the present and the future, and the general overabundance of information loads the brain and psyche, leads to difficulties with recovery, decreased tone and productivity. On the one hand, there is information that we perceive consciously. This is what a person has decided to read, study. On the other hand, there is now a lot of information that a person in society is forced to perceive against his will. This is background music, advertising, work and personal messages by mail and messengers. Even if you consciously do not pay attention to it, unconsciously the settings from songs and advertisements are read, affect your energy, mental and physical condition, and messages by mail and messengers make you constantly distract from what is important. And an overabundance of uncontrolled consumption of information affects the human condition. How information affects a person's energy, mind and body. What is a human being? To begin with, let's figure out what a person is. In the process of self-awareness, many people think about themselves, associate themselves with their body. With the presence of a body, its feeling is more or less clear. And what about what fills this body? If you ask the question, where in the body do you feel yourself? Most will answer that in the upper body, mostly in my head. There is an association of oneself with some kind of identity, which is located in some area of the body. I am a man or a woman, a son or a daughter, a father or a mother, a doctor or an entrepreneur, a Christian or a Muslim, a citizen of one country or another, and so on. Depending on the manifestation of identities, the answer to the question, who am I? Everyone will have their own, and the answer to this question may change over time. Some identities and their position are manifested by a person no more clearly and even imperceptibly to his consciousness, switching between each other. All this can be perceived by a person as a manifestation of his own self. But basically, all these are visible parts of the manifestation of systems that are integrated into the unconscious layers of the human psyche. Most likely, each of you has had situations when you thought, said or did something, and then some observing part of the psyche speaks. What's it? From where? Why did I say or do that? That's it. This is the way inside yourself. These are the secrets of the unconscious psyche. What is information from the point of view of energy? In the classical definition, information is understood as a certain content that expands a person's knowledge about himself, about the world around him and the processes taking place in it, and information is delivered to us using sensory signals. If we look at the processes of human interaction more broadly, information is transmitted not only at the level of the five senses, but also in energy channels. A well-known example of such a feeling is intuition, which everyone has, but not many people listen and hear it. A person unconsciously reads a process that has already formed on the information and energy plane. This can happen when communicating with someone or in general, being in some kind of space. The brain interprets this information in a form understandable to a person. The psyche and body react in a changed state. For example, there may be anxiety, or a situation where a person, for example, is late for a plane, which subsequently crashes. What is the social significance of information? If you go through the points, what do you know about yourself, about your family and social group, about the country and the land, about the world? Ask yourself a question. Is this information reliable? The fact is that if a person lives with false information on any of these points, then this has a negative impact on his energy, psyche, body. If a person, based on some of his ideas, refers himself to any of the main religions, which reflects a certain picture of the world, the rules of interaction in it, and historically, genetically, a person belongs to another ethnic group with their own ideas about the world. On the one hand, he accepts incorrect information about himself, trying to follow what he knows about himself, as is customary, the trend or based on other motives. On the other hand, he rejects the resources inherent in his family and in the unconscious layers of the psyche. We know from psychology that the human psyche develops in contact with another person. A man needs a man. All the people with whom we interact to one degree or another have an impact on us. Family, friends and colleagues are people who are more involved in our lives and know our strengths and weaknesses better than others. Involvement in our lives implies a greater mutual penetration of energy and influence on us. It is absolutely true that the environment has a very strong influence on a person. It can be a support or a field of apparent or background energy loss. But what about interacting with people we don't communicate with directly? Bloggers, writers through their works, actors and other brass personalities. This influence is especially noticeable, since once you listen to this person, you trust this person to a certain extent. It is important that the opinion of the authority is not decisive in your life. Otherwise, where is the authorship in your life? In general, the word, music and video sequence a combination of sounds, rhythm, sound, light, as a product of creativity, can change the energy and condition of a particular person, biorhythms and consciousness of people through mass influence on a subconscious level. Consciousness is encoded through the subconscious mind. A person who broadcasts something in the media field should be aware of his influence on the consciousness and energy of listeners. Ideally, to be in harmony with oneself, harmonious with the universe, and transmit this harmony to listeners, healing their psyche and body. If the source is misleading, and a person accepts this information, this forms a model of thoughts and actions, which can lead to different levels of losses. Physically and energetically, this can be felt in an emotional and energetic uplift, but strategically, human actions lead to losses. Almost all modern information transmission channels have advertising. It has a particularly strong effect on humans. After watching an advertisement, a person's biorhythm completely changes, which affects the condition and, depending on the frequency and intensity of exposure, individual characteristics, affects health. Now it is quite common to eat while watching the news, YouTube videos, TV shows, and so on. Cartoons are often included for children to make it easier and faster to feed them. And what is the result? Information, the state that is transmitted from the source with which you share a meal, is absorbed at the field and physical level. We consist of what we eat and perceive, and an overabundance of information affects the human condition. Therefore, it is important to filter the information. Perceiving only the right information saves you time, and this is the most valuable resource. Sources of unnecessary information can be anchors from the past that maintain connections. Perhaps it's time to let them go for the arrival of new and good things in your life. In classical physics, it is believed that information is just an abstract concept that has nothing to do with the material world. But quantum mechanics forces us to take a fresh look at many phenomena and concepts that previously seemed familiar to us. One of these concepts is information. Indeed, modern technical devices are capable of measuring, recording, storing and processing information. All these actions are inapplicable to an abstract concept. This forces us to treat information in practice as a real object that has material characteristics and obeys the laws of the material world. One such law is the law of conservation. It is not surprising that in modern physics they attach great importance to the law of conservation of information. Therefore, all phenomena in which a violation of this fundamental law is found attract close attention. So, when considering the evolution of black holes, Stephen Hawking allowed the disappearance of information falling into a black hole. This phenomenon has been called the Hawking information paradox. This paradox is a serious problem because it is incompatible with the general principles of quantum mechanics. It remains unclear whether information serves only as a kind of catalyst for the process, or whether it is directly a source of released energy. The second assumption is confirmed by the hypothesis, popular among astrophysicists, that information is the main source of energy generated during thermonuclear reactions in stars. It is the availability of information that ensures the stability and stability of thermonuclear reactions. However, according to the calculations of scientists, all the information inside the stars should have entered in many billions of years of their evolution. Therefore, there must be a source of this information in the universe, feeding the bowels of the stars. Until now, the nature of this source has remained a mystery. The answer to this riddle is provided by the Hawking information paradox. Thus, the fulfillment of the fundamental law of nature on the preservation of information is ensured. All the phenomena considered convincingly and argumentatively confirm the validity of the basic principles of modern physics, quantum mechanics, and cosmology. We are witnessing how in modern science a holistic, logical, and consistent picture of the universe is formed from separate unrelated fragments, which is based on information with its amazing and mysterious properties.